what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Battlefield Project podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Rhoda, and this is the podcast for people who understand that life is a battle and only the strong will thrive. I've got my really good friend here, Austin Howes, who I'm going to introduce in a minute. But before I do, I have one favor to ask of anybody listening to this episode. If you get any value out of it, whether it makes you think, you hear something, you're like, you know what, my mom or sister or friend could hear this message and it might benefit them, please share the show with them. That is the goal of this podcast, is to just plant seeds of inspiration out there in the world and have a positive ripple effect. My goal is to have guests on the show and highlight them and let them share stories of battles that they have faced in their lives and how they've overcome those battles, because I want everybody to understand that nobody goes through life untouched. Every single one of us has battles to deal with, whether it's on a daily basis or they're random, they come and they go. Everybody has battles that they will face on this earth. The challenge is the winners and the people successful in life, they will fight their way through those battles. They will face them head on. And then the people who aren't happy, aren't successful, they tend to play the victim card and let those battles defeat them. So I bring on guests who share these stories of how they overcame those battles. And without further ado, let me introduce my buddy here, Austin. He is a 17-year-old entrepreneur who created Raise the Bar Detailing, which is a mobile detailing company. He's always looking for ways to improve himself in all aspects of his life. His goal is to leave a massive imprint on the younger generations and help people to break away from the average way of life. When he's not spending time on the business or in school, he enjoys spending time in a circle of young entrepreneurs and friends. Austin, man, you are by far the youngest person I've had on this episode. Doesn't surprise me that it's going to be you to take that award. Thanks for being here, brother.
Of course, yeah. I was waiting to see when I could get on, and I'm glad that finally made it happen.
Yeah,
a little jealous that my mom beat me to it, but hey,
she's got the foot in the door a little bit before I knew her before you. But let me go on record as saying, if you're watching this and it's in the future, it is Friday, February 17th, and depending how far in the future this is, I would be willing to bet you that Austin is doing something to change the world for the better. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him on a personal level. I don't know what it's been, 2 years, 3 years, maybe. I feel like it's been
something
a while,
like that,
but
yeah,
something like that. And he's just one of them. Let me put it this way. I wish my 17-year-old ass would have been Austin at 17, because he's leagues ahead of adults that I know, and probably leagues ahead of many, 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 or almost all kids his age are. So he's going to change the world. So it's my honor to have him on the show today, to be featuring him. So Austin, man, the floor is yours, brother. Whatever battle you're comfortable sharing with the audience and kind of how you fought your way through it, love to hear from you.
Right on. And I really appreciate the kind words. But so going back to when I was really young, I grew up in a fantastic family. I couldn't have asked for anything better. Parents, my mom's an entrepreneur. My dad is high up in the company that he works for. Both are hardworking individuals. They imprinted every level of character trait into me, and I couldn't have asked them to have given me any better raising. So, I mean, up until I was, however old I would have been in fifth grade, I had it really good. Fifth grade was when I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I would say that kind of started the snowball of that early on victim mentality. Whereas before I didn't have any diagnosis to blame for anything. Now I was diagnosed with ADHD. I could blame, oh, I'm not paying attention in school. It's because I have ADHD. Oh, I'm not remembering to do chores around the house. It's because of ADHD. So that was kind of that first chance that I could pawn off some of my own issues onto something else and not take responsibility for it. Yep. So fast forward to eighth grade, which would have been when COVID hit for school. I really let that take off. The people I was hanging out with were not a good crowd to be around. And whenever something was going wrong, it was always, this is why this is happening. It's not because of me. Of course, I can't do anything wrong. I'm 15 years old. I'm on top of the world. I can't do a thing wrong. And so I think that's where that really had begun. And that's nothing like the way that I was raised. So where that came from, I solely blame on the people that I surrounded myself with. And the fact that I did not want to change anything. I did not want to take responsibility. That was hard. That was a hard decision. And so why would I want to do that? So when at that point, I was still pretty young in school, so it's 8th grade. We got out of school in March for the 2-week break that it was supposed to be, which then turned into however many months. During that time, something kind of changed and shifted. This was like the first positive sign. This would have been before you and I had first met, I believe so. And me, I had decided that I wanted to get off of the ADHD meds. I wanted to get full control of that. And that was the first chance I had to make a big change and take some responsibility. And for like the next 6 months, I stayed in my backyard in a tent and just kind of separated myself. I was reading a lot, listening to more podcasts. And that was probably one of the hardest changes that I made up until that point in my life, was getting off of the ADHD medicine and taking responsibility for my life and understanding that, hey, nobody's coming to save you. You are what you create. Yep. And so that was a really big change for me. And I'm very happy that I did get off of that. And moving forward, this would have been post you and I first working out together, 75 hard, first round. And going through that I felt like I was on top of the world. I was in the best shape I've ever been. Improved, was not 100% cleaned out, if you will. Yep. And I didn't think anything could go wrong. So this would now be about a year ago. We've gone through COVID, and this was where I started to see some changes post 75 hard the first round, and I was starting to slip in areas. I wasn't keeping myself disciplined. I was starting to hang out with the wrong people again. Still chasing popularity, which is something I did for a long time when I was younger. And from there, so this would have been last year, so 10th grade, I got into, like I said, bad circle, and got into smoking weed with people, which was the first decision that I made that I sent that snowball that was now massive off the cliff. And now I've thrown away all the discipline. I talk the talk, but I didn't walk any of it. I was completely off the rails. And so I was doing all this stuff without any knowledge, or without anybody else having any knowledge that this was happening besides the people that I was doing it with. And this went on for 4 months roughly, which I had thrown away all of my morals, all of my raising, if you will, everything that I was taught, and was said, hey, this is how you need to carry out your life. This is the way that God would want you to carry out your life. You come into this world with your name, and that is the only thing you leave with is your name, and whatever you leave behind is what people are going to remember you for. And at this point, I had said screw it all to that and threw it all out the window. And so this is probably 8-ish months ago, and my parents I can't remember exactly how they'd found out, but they brought it up to me, said, hey, this is what we've seen, heard, whatever. And I immediately fessed up. I was like, yes, this is what I have been doing. These are the people that I've been hanging out with. And taking the responsibility there was probably the best decision I could have made. Had I denied it and said, no, this isn't true or whatever, I don't know where I would be right now. But having parents who didn't just scold me, and chew me out for it and take away whatever else. Instead, they sat down with me and said, "Hey, how can we help? Like, you're obviously struggling. We know this is nothing like you. What can we do?" And so from there, a few weeks later, I started 75 Hard again, and started getting my life back on track. It was not an immediate, easy change, especially because I still had those people who I thought were really close friends to me were still in my circle. Mm-hmm. And that was the most difficult part, was probably getting rid of the rest of the toxic friendships that I had, but we can get to that in a minute. But going from not caring and basically throwing away hopes of a future, throwing away the way that I was carrying myself, everything, to now, okay, we're 75 Hard. We're getting our stuff back in check. We are doing our task every day, but we're also getting closer to God, which is one thing that I really threw away during all that time, because the people that I was hanging out with were like, we're only going to live once. Like, let's enjoy it now, rather than the whole ideology that I was raised with going to church, which was, hey, you have these, I hate calling them rules, because I feel like anytime you call them rules to somebody who is kind of on the edge about getting into their faith and trusting God, they immediately, that's a turn off. Nope, I don't want anything to do with rules. Yeah. There's enough rules in my life. So I would call them the guidelines, if you will, of, hey, this is how you're treating other people. This is how you're treating yourself more than anything, and your relationship with God. I had thrown that all away, but at that point was getting it back in check, which that was really hard, was admitting that once again, I screwed up. This is me fixing it. Yep. And let's keep plowing forward. So yeah, those were the hardest battles that I fought, was just admitting that, hey, this is what I've done and this is what I'm screwing up. And I need to accept that, and I need to move on and make corrections. So then moving forward from there, up until 4-ish months ago, I started my business, Raise the Bar Detailing. And that was really sparked by a 22-year-old who I listened to, Eamon Gaji. He was born in another country and decided that he needs to get him and his mom out, and started his business before he turned 18. To me, it kind of seemed like, oh, I can start applying all this knowledge that I've learned after I turn 18. Then I can start a business. Then I can be an adult. And when he brought that up, it was really eye-opening. So I started doing some research. I've been writing down business ideas for a while. And one day, I think I just came across a video on YouTube, and it was how to detail your own car or something like that. And I went, car detailing. Okay, where am I going to detail cars? Well, we can't do it at our house, so let's go mobile. Yep. And from there, that idea sparked, and I was able to pour in a ton of effort over the next few weeks. And 4 weeks after the idea sparked, I had my first customer, client.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And from there, it's really just asked for any more blessings than I've received through this business. And the eye-opening, or the things that have opened my eyes during this for the future, it's been incredible. Yeah. So I am extremely thankful for that. But yeah, it's rewinding a little bit now. After, or before I'd started the business, I had started bringing up the idea of business to people I still at this point had thought were friends. And I was blown away. The amount of people who told me, you're too young for that. You are inexperienced. Nobody's going to hire you. Like, oh, you're too materialistic. Like, you're just opening this up to try and make a bunch of money. Yep. And I was blown away by the backlash that I got from it, and it turned me off of the idea at first. And then another one of my favorite quotes has always been, if you are running into challenges or you're experiencing challenges, you're heading in the right direction. Yep. You are doing something right if you are experiencing any sort of resistance. But from there, I kind of debated about the idea, and when I had started it, the 4 weeks later, I was still playing with the idea, but was also still pouring effort into it because I was deciding that, hey, I'm not doing this for anyone else. I'm doing this for me as a personal goal because I want to provide the best experience for other people. And that has been probably one of the best decisions that I've ever made, was to just, without any guide, without any like, hey, here's a step-by-step how to start a business, to just send it into it was incredible. It was an eye-opening experience, but also it showed me that you're not going to find a podcast for it. You're going to have people who can give you like, hey, this might be what happens. This might be whatever. But until you go into it, I feel like every entrepreneur's story is going to be different.
Yep.
Every person who starts a business, it's going to be different. And now what I am experiencing is we're getting a lot of business. We are booking jobs left and right. But I got to remind myself that there's always more, and not get caught up in we're getting jobs, so let's just kind of sit back and let the jobs come in, rather than, okay, let's capitalize on this and keep pushing forward. So that's been one of the things that I've been experiencing now, is wanting to just kind of coast now that things are up and running, rather than before where it's like, okay, let's start the Instagram, let's get a website up, let's be posting here and here and responding over here. And now it is, we need to keep doing that. And one of the books that I'd recently read again was the 10X rule. I need to be doing things 10 times more than the competition is, 10 times more than anybody else is.
Yep.
And it's hard to do.
Yeah.
But you suffer now and you enjoy your future later.
Yep.
And so that's been awesome. And an extreme level of lessons are being taught, more than ever before. In the last year, I've learned more about myself, more about my friends, and more about my faith than I ever have in the last 15 years of me being, or 17 years of me being alive. But those last 2 years have done more for me than the 15 years before that. So it's really been great and extremely eye-opening. And that's what I crave, is I just crave to always be getting better the 1% every day, whether it's 1%, 10%. And it's been awesome.
No limit to it.
Yeah, 100%.
Dude, like I said, I mean, you just talk for 20 minutes and I'm like, if every freaking teenager, like 13 to 19-year-old, even like early 20s, should listen to this and be like, oh shit, like, okay.
Yeah.
That's a couple of things you said. One, the fact that you started your conversation by praising your parents, again, like, it just says so much about like the person that you are. A lot of people jump on and right away, like, the spotlight's on them, it's about me. And like, you immediately deflected that and was like, before I go into my story, like, here's who I have to thank for making me who I am today. Mm-hmm. Like, and I don't even have to tell you, it's because you will, but like, keep that perspective through life, because when you realize who has supported you and gotten you to that point, and you like have, whether you express it or not, but you have that sense of gratitude and understanding in you, you'll never stop learning and growing. You'll never stop attracting people to you that want to watch you and help you succeed. Obviously, your parents are the first in your life to help you do that. But when people understand that is actually like appreciated and understood, you'll find a ton of people that want to pour into you because you embrace that. It's not taken for granted. You acknowledge that. That goes a long, long way for people. So kudos on that.
Yeah,
You also
appreciate it.
said, yeah, man. At one point you chased popularity, and like I think at your age and like the world you live in with social media and stuff, natural to do that. But and I mean, adults do that too. That's not even just like a teenager thing. Like that's a potentially all your life disease that you can have, which is to care more about what other people think than your own happiness. So the fact that at such an early age you learned that's not where it's at. Like you can't chase that popularity because what's popular today might not be popular next week. So are you constantly looking for the way to be popular, or are you just constantly looking for the way to be the best you that you can be? And then the right people will find you. Like that's a life lesson again that I wish everybody would understand and live by, because when you start focusing on yourself and what you can contribute and do and control, everything works itself out. And if you're meant to be popular, like a lot of people look up to you, cool. That's just like a secondary byproduct of the fact that you're just crushing life and you're winning and you're enjoying everything that you do. The popularity is like, cool, fine. Like people like me. Yay. Like it's nice to know, but it's not the reason you wake up every day to being like, what can I do today to make people like me? You wake up and you're like, what can I do today to serve and to give and to fulfill my purpose? And then if a byproduct of that is people like me because of what I'm doing, cool. I can accept that. I'm happy about that.
Yep, 100%.
You've probably heard, maybe you listen to Andy Frisella and he talks about a couple of different times on podcasts, but the crabs in a bucket. So if no one is, you mentioned, you brought up multiple times that your circle of friends that you were running with, and like, it's kind of why you got into some trouble to begin with. Same story for me in high school, went with the different crowd, and that crowd, including myself, and I was kind of like a leader in that crowd, but just got into trouble, not making the best decisions. So I can't stress enough, and you did a great job of doing it as well, the importance of choosing who you surround yourself with. But yeah, this real quick, the crabs in a bucket, if you put like 15 crabs in a bucket, one of them will try to climb itself out and try to one of them will see that there's something else out there and it'll try to claw its way out of there. The other 14 crabs are going to grab that crab and like claw it down and bring it back into it, because misery loves company. So if those crabs, those 14 are like, oh, why does that one think he can get out of the bucket when we can't? We're going to keep him down here with us. It's a human problem, but that's what you'll find. And that's why I think when you mentioned talking to some of your friends and them being like, you're too young, no one's going to hire you, all the reasons under the moon and the sun to say it's not going to work, those are crabs trying to pull you back into the bucket because they don't want you to get out of the bucket, because then they're going to feel less important. They're going to feel like they're not doing as much in this world because they're happy and content being at the bottom of that bucket. So again, man, like the fact that you could recognize the awareness that you have at this age is why I don't care if you do a car detailing business, I don't like whatever you do like next, or if this is it forever, you're going to succeed at, because the level of awareness that you have of what matters and what doesn't matter at this age, it's phenomenal. At 17, I was just getting into drugs and popularity, and I spent, let's call it 15 to 20 years in that phase. So like you spent 4 months, like you took that, you took the 20-year learning curve that I struggled through to finally get to my mid-30s to be like, oh, I get it now. Like, okay, time to do work. You shrunk that down to 4 months or whatever, a couple of weeks, like, in between all those lessons that you learned. So you're a phenomenal human being. You're going to crush it.
I really appreciate it.
Nah, man, I mean, it's my pleasure. Like I have one son, I have 3 daughters. So my family dynamic, like I'm like, please, Miles, like grow up to be like Austin, like don't go my route. And like from the early age, be like me, like 0 to 12, 13, 14, but then like the next 20 years, like do everything the opposite of what I did. Like, so that's why I love pouring into you, man, and giving anything that I can to help you succeed. Cause you're the type of dude that'll turn back around when you're 25, 30 and pour into someone else at a young age to like help that person get to where they're going to get much quicker than had you not stepped in and given them that helping hand. So that's, like I said in the beginning, when you kind of acknowledge your parents as like the reason you are who you are. That's it, man. Because someone that someday is going to look up and be like, the reason, part of the reason I am who I am today is because this guy named Austin was my mentor, and help me figure life out and like stay on the right track. So you're going to find that people want to help you as much as humanly possible, because instinctively I just know that that's going to, like, whatever I pour into you, it's going to overflow, help you overflow your cup, and then you're going to pour that into someone else. So it's that ripple effect that you're just like your connection to greater good in the world. So it's like I know multiple people now that want to help you with stuff, and I'm like, everyone's going to want to help you when they meet you and like have a couple minutes to spend with you and be like, okay, this is someone that gets it. This is someone that's going to do some good in the world. What can I do to amplify that, even if it's just a small piece of that story? Like, how can I contribute to that story happening? Because it's a good story that you're going to write for yourself, dude.
100%. Yeah. And that's, I mean, when we went to the Kyle Slaymaker Success Summit,
yep.
I realized, and I met people for the first time who I had never met before. And the immediate, like, almost family feeling that I got, I knew I was in the right place. Yeah. And to find that and to have people who want to pour into you, you know you're doing something right. And that means that you then take what they're pouring into you, you pour into somebody else.
Yep.
And it's that ripple effect that you were talking about.
Yeah. I'm in a group called Apex, and the phrase that's thrown around in there a lot is family of choice, which is you walked into that summit and you were immediately like, this could be my family of choice. Like you're fortunate because you were born into a great family. Not everybody's born into a great family. Same for me. I was fortunate. I was born into a great family. So my family of not choosing, I'm really, really happy and glad that I have that. Same for you.
Yep.
But not everybody has that. What everybody can have is a family of choice, which is, who do I choose to surround myself with and make them my family? Friends, distant friends, friends of friends, people you never met in person, but virtually they inspire you. Like that's, like, if you go on my social media feed, like my timeline is filled with people, my family of choice, because they're the people I choose to get content from on a daily basis, because they're inspiring me. They're like driving me to want to do better and be better. So yeah, man, it's cool to hear you say that, because you walked into there and I'm sure heads turned. It's like, oh, this younger kid's in here. Like, that's kind of cool. So immediately when you're around people who want to succeed and want to see others succeed, it's an immediate, like, that's awesome that he's here. And like at that age, he wants to do something. What can I do to help that kid get, I say kid, but like young man, get to where he wants to get in life? So yeah, you're already building a family of choice, and you're super young in the grand scheme of things. So as you get older, your network is going to grow tenfold, and the amount of connections and resources that you have access to is going to grow tenfold. And really the amount of opportunity, then doors that opens for you, you're just going to like go through life succeeding, as long as you stay the course, which I have the utmost faith that you will.
Yep, 100%.
Let me finish with this question for you, because you're kind of young. You're 17 in the grand scheme of things. It's pretty young. What if you had to look in a crystal ball? What do you think some big upcoming battles will be in your life? Because you've got so much life ahead of you.
I think one of the biggest battles that will be coming up is going to be personally with deciding where my morals stand as far as going into the military. I have been extremely against getting a vaccine. I have not personally got it, and now coming up on thinking, hey, since I was tiny, I was like, in the military, that's what's going to happen. I want to be a Marine. And when I hear rumors that, hey, the mandate is still there, and that only 16 out of like 20,000 people got an exemption.
Yeah.
There's part of me that is going, or there's the young kid in me that's going to go, well, this has been my dream, and I'm going to have to step away from it to stay with my morals. And so I know that'll be a mental battle that I won't sway with where I stand, but it will be hard to then go into starting immediately a business, which would be the plan. So that'll be definitely a hard battle coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But God only puts in your path what you're supposed to experience, man.
100%.
So you know that. I mean, I always play like scenarios out in my head. So I'll play a scenario out for you that I'm sure you probably thought of before too. But let's say there's no mandate. So you go into the military and you die in battle. Possibility, like a very real possibility for everybody. And then you don't get to experience what life has in store for you. So
Yep.
maybe, this is God, the universe working in a mysterious way and being like, we're going to keep that mandate in place. That's going to sway Austin from going into the military. And then because instead of going left, you went right with your life. Now you start a business and you achieve, 50, 60, 70 years of bliss because you are who you are and you didn't go into battle and die. So, and I know you have that perspective, but as soon as I hear stuff like that, where it's like a fork in the road, okay, this way, or can I go this way? And you want to go this way, but you can't. And so you're kind of forced to go this way. Like, there's a reason I wasn't allowed to go that way, or I chose not to go that way, because there's something better on this journey for me. So whatever happens, like, it's going to be what serves your higher purpose best in this world.
Yep.
How can you have the biggest impact on lives? Because military is a noble thing, and I would 100% support that. If it aligns with your vision and everything lines up, and that's what you want to do. But you're not bound to that career, that future, to find success and happiness and fulfillment, because you'll find it wherever you go, man.
Yes, sir. 100%.
Where can people find you online, dude? I'll put some show notes and links when I upload this to YouTube. But if someone's watching, where can they connect with you?
Definitely. So on Instagram, it's austinhouse.15. Same with Facebook. It should just be Austin House. If you want to go find the business, it is Facebook. You can just type in Raise the Bar Detailing, or type it into your browser and it will come up. You can find us there. Number, website, and socials will all be there for the business as well.
Right on. And you live in Elizabethtown, PA. For those watching out of state, how far, or different cities, towns, how far do you travel to detail cars?
I've traveled as far as State College, which is an hour 45 away. I'll travel farther. We have our travel fee, but I'll travel pretty much anywhere to detail.
Okay. Yep. Awesome, man. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being an inspiration to myself and everyone else watching this. And I wouldn't say to younger generations than you, but I mean, anyone watching this should be inspired by it. So I don't want to just limit it to the younger generations. You're inspiring people my age, 20s, 30s, whatever it is. So keep doing what you're doing, man. I appreciate what you're doing in the world, and keep staying strong.
Yes, sir. 100%.
Awesome, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you watch this, I know you got some value out of it and some inspiration out of it. So share it with a friend. I think I say that at the end of every show, but I feel like a lot of people that watch this are parents and have kids. This would be one to share. This would absolutely be something that you should have your almost teenager or teenager son or daughter watch, because if they're hanging around the wrong group or just lost and kind of not found their purpose yet, listening to Austin's story should spark something in them, to whether or not they immediately find a passion or pull the trigger on something, to be determined, but at least get the wheels turning that something like that is possible. Like he said earlier, you don't have to be 18. You don't have to be an adult to do things in life that you want to do and follow your dreams. It can start at any age, and usually the younger, the better. So please share this show. Like I said in the beginning, that's the whole point of this show, is just to plant those seeds, get those ripple effects out there, create positive change. So thanks for watching. Awesome, brother. Appreciate you, man. And I will see you all on the battlefield.